Welcome to Super Great Kids Stories, fun tales to make you laugh and cry, with some of the best storytellers from around the world. Recommended for ages 5 to 105. I'm Kim, and I love stories. But before we get started, here's a quick message for the grown-ups. Hello, and how are you? The story Kate Corkery is going to tell you today is from the Amazon rainforest in South America. It's about a big crab with snippety-snappety claws, who is, truth be told, a bit of a bully. The story has lots of frogs and fireflies and mosquitoes in it, so get ready with your ribbits and buzzes and your click-clacks, because it is a lovely, lively story. First, I'd like to say thanks to Lois from Jersey, who is 6. Lois has sent us a lovely drawing of a sloth surrounded by her collection of cuddly toy sloths. By the way, some people say sloths and some people say sloths. I wonder what you'd say. They're both right. I rather like saying sloths because those lovely creatures are very slow. You can see Lois's picture on our Facebook page at facebook.com/supergreatkidsstories. And do send us a picture of your favourite animal or Super Great Kids story. We've heard from some of you that you don't like some of the adverts. So we're making changes to try to make them more appropriate. But at the moment we have to have advertising to help us keep going. But if you'd like to help us directly, you can support us on kofi.com/supergreatkidsstories, or you can now subscribe on Apple Podcasts, where you can listen ad-free, get early access to the next story, and get one extra story a month. And now, here's Kate Corkery with this week's tale, El Cangrejo, the Crab King.
Hello everyone. I've been very lucky that I managed to travel to some wonderful countries in South America. And I love stories from there. This is one of my favourites. The story begins in the rainforest, where the trees are very tall and the big leaves are very green and they stretch way up to the sky. In the middle of the rainforest, there's a pond of water. And that's where my story takes place. In this pond of water, there's a crab. El Cangrejo. That's the Spanish word for crab, you know. Cangrejo. But this crab thought he was very, very important. In fact, he decided that he was king of the pond, that he ruled all the other little creatures who lived there. He even had a servant who would do everything he asked, and that servant was the dragonfly. And El Cangrejo, because he had big, strong, snippety-snappety claws, and because he had a hard back and he looked kind of cruel, when he made laws, people obeyed them. He would make speeches sometimes. I am El Cangrejo, the king of the pond, and I make the rules. My first rule is that in the afternoon I like to sleep. When I sleep, I close my eyes, I close my claws, I slip under the water, and I want silence. No other creature in the pond above or below is allowed to make a sound when I, the king, sleeps. Well, of course, Dragonfly told all the creatures of the pond and everybody agreed to obey because he was the king and this was the law. One very hot afternoon, the king closed his eyes, closed his claws, slipped under the water for his siesta, his sleep in the afternoon. On top of the pond there were some lily pads. Not long ago there had been tadpoles, and you know what tadpoles become? by some miracle, tadpoles, they become little frogs. And then little frogs, they become big frogs. And of course, as tadpoles, they make no sound. But as frogs, they've got legs and they can hop and they have big, big mouths. And they can croak and they can ribbit, 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 ribbit. And it's wonderful, to find your voice. If you were once a tadpole and you couldn't make a sound and suddenly you're a frog and you can make a big sound that can carry right across the forest, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. But these little frogs, they were told the rule, they were told the law, they must not make a sound in the afternoon. So those little frogs with the big mouths, they try to keep their big mouths shut. As if you're holding your breath. Can you try that? Keep your big mouth shut. And they were there, and sometimes, when you're told not to do something, it makes you want to do it all the more. It's like in school, sometimes you're told be quiet, but then you look at your friend, and your friend does something funny, and it makes you burst out laughing. Well, they were there. They were trying to be really, really good, all these little frogs. They were sitting on the lily pad, and they were keeping their big mouths shut, and they were looking around with their big eyes, and they were looking at each other, and then they looked across the pond, and something made them laugh. And they opened their mouths and they started. Now, I'm not very good at laughing and ribbiting at the same time, but maybe you can. So the laughing of a frog would go, and the ribbit, 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 ribbit. Well, anyway, it made a racket. And who woke up? Of course, El Cangrejo, the crab. He woke up. Was he happy? No, he was not happy. He clicked his claws and he called the dragonfly his servant. Dragonfly, zzz, yes, your majesty, yes, your majesty. Go find out who's making that noise in the afternoon, who is breaking the law. Dragonfly, he flew across the pond. Zzz. He flew over to the frogs. Little frogs, bidip, bidip, bidip. You're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. You have broken the law. You have broken the silence. The king, he's commanded you to come right now. Oh, us? But us? No, you must come and explain yourself to the king. He is really angry. So the little frogs, they hopped around the pond and they sat in front of the king. El Cangrejo looked at them with his steely eyes. Little frogs, what do you think you're doing? Breaking the law, bursting out laughing loudly in the afternoon. Your Majesty, it wasn't our fault. We were trying to keep the peace. We were trying to keep our big mouths shut. We were trying to stay still and not hop. But we looked across the pond and we saw something so ridiculous. We couldn't help but laugh. What did you see that was so ridiculous that made you laugh? It was the tortoise. Tortoise. The tortoise going around with his bald head and its scraggy neck and carrying a big, heavy shell on its back. It looked ridiculous, so silly, carrying its house around on its back. It just made us laugh. Biddy, biddy. Oh. It really wasn't our fault. Your Majesty, it wasn't our fault. It was the fault of the tortoise. So it was the fault of the tortoise, looking ridiculous, that made you laugh, that broke the silence, that broke the law. Get me that tortoise. Dragonfly, he flew across the pond. Zzz. Tortoise. Yes? The king wants to see you. You're in big trouble. Me? Yes, you. You've been going around looking ridiculous. You've been making frogs laugh, breaking the silence. You're in big trouble. Big trouble. You must come and see the king now, straight away. No time to waste. Well, the tortoise, he moved as fast as he could, and he put one foot in front of the other, and he walked all the way around the pond and said, Your Majesty, you wish to see me? Tortoise, what do you think you're doing going around carrying this big ridiculous house on your back? You're making frogs laugh. You're disturbing the peace. You look silly. Explain yourself. Oh, said Tortoise, Your Majesty, I carry my house everywhere because I am afraid to leave it empty. If I go out and leave my shell empty, I am afraid that the fireflies will come, and the fireflies will burn it down. What? I am so afraid I carry my shell, my house everywhere, because the fireflies, it is their fault, they frighten me so much. I carry my house everywhere. Oh, said Cangrejo. You are telling me it is not your fault, that you are carrying a house on your back. You're doing it because it's the fault of the fireflies. Yes, said Tortoise. Dragonfly, clickety, clickety, click. Get me the fireflies. Dragonfly. He flew up in the air. Bzzz. And there he saw a cloud of fireflies, and they were lighting up like sparks. They looked like fireworks, and the fireflies were having a wonderful party in the sky. Wee, 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 wee. We like to dance, we like to dance, we like to shine. Yeah! And they were laughing and flying and shining and shimmering and glittering and glowing and having a wonderful party. Yeah, with the fireflies, we light up the night, the fireflies, we light up the night, yeah. Dragonfly was not laughing. Fireflies, are you listening to me? Yes. The king wants to see you. You have disturbed the peace. You have broken the law. You have frightened the tortoise. The tortoise is carrying his house on his back. He's making the frogs laugh. They're making a big noise. They're breaking the law. The king is angry. It's all your fault. You must come and see the king now. Oh, the king! Let's go see the king! Yay! We love to see the king! So this crowd of fireflies, they landed in front of Cangrejo. Cangrejo was not smiling. He was not laughing. He was not dancing. He was not singing. Fireflies, what do you think you're doing? Going around lighting up the night, frightening the tortoise. We don't, Your Majesty, we do light up the night, but we don't want to frighten anyone. We like to party and we like to light up, but as well as enjoying all the lights, we light up so that we can be seen, and if we're not seen, we might get bitten by the mosquito, and we do not want to get bitten by the mosquito, so we light up, and the mosquito keeps out of our way. It's not our fault. It's all we can do. It's not really our fault. It's the fault of the mosquito. Oh, said Cangrejo. So it's not your fault that you light up the night, that you frighten the tortoise, that he looks ridiculous, that the frogs laugh out loud and wake me from my sleep. It's all the fault of the mosquito. Yes, it's the fault of the mosquito. Get me the mosquito. Clickety-click, clickety-click, clickety-click. He clicked his claws this time. He was really angry. Dragonfly, zzz, he buzzed around the pond looking for Mosquito. Mosquito was hard to find, but after a while, he heard that tiny sound. Dragonfly, he flew right in front of Mosquito, said, Mosquito, Mosquito, you're in big trouble. Their king wants to see you. Yes, you little thing. You've caused all the trouble in the forest, in the pond, in the kingdom. The king is so angry. You must see the king right now. Yes, you. Come right now. You must appear before the king. Little Mosquito. He sat in front of Cangrejo, the king. Ah, you are the troublemaker in my kingdom. You little mosquito, you have made the fireflies light up. They frighten the tortoise. The tortoise looks ridiculous carrying his house. The frogs laugh out loud. It disturbs the peace. It disturbs my kingdom. And you know what I do with people who create trouble in my kingdom? I squash them with my big clickety-click strong claws. Squash! El Cangrejo, with his big, strong claws, squashed the life out of little Mosquito. Ah, end of problem, said Cangrejo. Now there will be peace. He closed his eyes. He closed his claws. He slipped under the water to sleep, feeling very satisfied with himself. Do you think that little Mosquito had any family? Do you think the Mosquito had brothers and sisters? Do you think he had uncles and aunties, and cousins, and friends, and neighbours, and other mosquitoes? Of course. Many mosquitoes knew that little Mosquito, and many mosquitoes were very sad and very angry that he had been squashed so cruelly by El Cangrejo, the king. And word travelled fast through the forest. One mosquito told another the news. our friend has been squashed by Cangrejo the king. Zzz. So one mosquito told another and another and another and another and another until there was a big cloud of angry mosquitoes hovering in the air. Zzz. They were so angry that cloud of mosquitoes flew towards the pond and descended right over the water and hovered just where the king, El Cangrejo, was trying to have his afternoon nap. And even in his sleep, he woke up and he heard zzz, the buzzing mosquitoes over the water. And he thought, well, soon they will fly away. They will fly away. They won't hover here forever. But they didn't fly away. They waited and waited. And Cangrejo, he waited under the water, and whenever he tried to raise his claw above the surface, he could hear the sound more loudly. Zzz. And then Crab, he began to dig under the mud, and he began to walk sideways, a thing he'd never done before. Rather than going forwards, he started to walk sideways and dig a hole for himself deeper under the muddy water. And he waited for another while. And then when he thought, surely by now they have gone, they've got tired, those mosquitoes, and he stretched out his claw again just to see how safe it was above the surface. But zzz, they were waiting. They were waiting, they were waiting, they were waiting, and they're still waiting. Boys and girls, if you ever see a cloud of mosquitoes, they will be hovering over the water. And you know what? To this day, boys and girls, if you see a crab, he prefers to stay under the water. And if you see a crab, he will be walking sideways, and he will be digging a hole for himself under the mud if he can. And to this day, boys and girls, the crab is no longer the king of the pond. Nobody is the king. All the creatures do what they like to do best. If frogs like to hop and croak, they can hop and croak at any time. If the tortoise wants to carry its shell on its back, it will carry its shell on its back anywhere it goes. If the fireflies want to light up the night, they light up the night. And the mosquitoes, they hover, and they're waiting for El Cangrejo, the crab. Snip, snap, snout. The story is out.
Ooh, watch out, Mr. Crab. That'll teach you for bullying. I wonder what you'd do if you were told you had to be silent while your head teacher took a nap every day. Thanks to Kate for that, and thank you for listening. Special thanks to all our listeners in Spain, particularly those of you in Almuñeca. And thanks to all of you who like our stories. If you'd like to support us and help us find new storytellers, you could make a one-off donation to kofi.com/supergreatkidsstories. Or you can now subscribe on Apple Podcasts, where you can listen ad-free, get early access to the next story, and get one bonus story a month. Thank you. See you next week.